Good morning, everyone. This is Paul Meyer from GAI Insights, and welcome to our daily GenAI Enterprise briefing, where we discuss and rate top news items. Our AI analysts rate each article as essential, important, or optional for executives and AI leaders to save them time. Today's briefing is sponsored by GAI Insights, and today's discussion will be led by Luda. Go ahead, Luda.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, Ankash, start us with the first item, please.
I think it's already displaying, Luda. You see it?
Yeah, but he was going to kick it off. Ankash, do you hear us?
Yes, sorry, Luda, I was on mute.
Okay.
So the first news item that we have for today is from a Chevrolet dealership, which was using ChatGPT for customer service, and then ChatGPT started answering a lot of queries around mathematics and all different kind of things.
Thank you. John, do you want to venture an opinion for this?
You're also on mute.
Oh, he's also on mute.
Mute challenge today.
Yes.
You're still on mute.
Yeah, I mean, as you read through it, I mean, to deploy a model we haven't even checked whether it recommends other cars is just kind of silly. So I just think they got lazy, right? You have to test the thing before you put it out there. I'd say optional.
Optional?
Yeah.
Optional. Word to the wise that, as this thing spreads, it's still software and it still needs work.
It still needs to be tested. I mean, come on.
All sorts of things.
You're in a sales process. Car recommendations, and nobody even saw if it recommended something other than the Chevy. Come on. For heaven's sakes, if I'm running a Chevy dealership, I don't even want it recommending a Buick.
Yeah, important to note for GM, though, that this was just a dealership, right? Like going rogue and doing this. This wasn't GM doing something stupid.
And they just put a little tiny wrapper around OpenAI ChatGPT 4 and said, "Go for it."
But I do think from AI leader, this is an example of a department doing something. So a quote department. So anybody in your company could do a chatbot that has brand downside risk. Your office in Tokyo, your office in Australia.
Yes, I agree with you, Paul. And there's another lesson potentially that we might want to highlight about the, narrowing it or making sure that it only answers the right questions, right? Or your domain questions. Should we highlight it as important for those two reasons, or leave it as optional?
See, I'm as team important for the cautionary tale part of it, that I think it could be relevant, but again, I could be persuaded into optional.
Okay, Bruce, anybody else?
I had heard a story yesterday of someone gaming a bot at a dealership and getting the bot to agree to sell them the car for $1.
That's this one.
That's this one.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why we might consider putting it as important, as a cautionary tale.
Maybe with the caveat, maybe important just as a cautionary tale.
John, everybody?
I can live with it.
Yep.
Agree? Okay. All right, important it is. Next.
Okay, so the next is from TomTom and Microsoft. So they have teamed up to bring generative AI assistant to automobiles.
Paul, do you want to venture the initial opinion?
Yes, this is absolute nothing burger, optional. Every single device over $2,000, everything will software that's is going to look at how to have an interface that's audio or voice based. So
seconded
relationship. So
anybody?
I have one question. I believe in optional, but I have one question here. I don't know if anybody knows the answer, but I think it's important in some sense, which is, so this thing is going to integrate with your car. It will help, I'm sure, make it much nicer as you're driving along. You just talk to your car. But what if it gives you like the wrong direction or the wrong something or other and causes real harm? You're in a car.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I almost was thinking important just as like kind of here's one to watch where you might end up seeing a story like the one we just saw, but
yeah. I mean, I guess you already have that with navigation to a certain extent because if
I thought it was more on the infotainment. Turn down my radio, play rock music.
No, it said
and GPS as well. Everything. I mean, they're expanding it. They do GPS already, and they're expanding it to everything else. So
yeah, some of their examples, I was thinking the same thing, and then I saw the examples where it said like you can open the windows with it. You can ask it what the directions are. So it felt like there were things where I was like, I hope this goes well.
yeah, I still think optional myself, but
Okay.
Interesting.
Optional it is then. Okay, next.
Okay, so the next one is around GPT and other AI models not able to analyze SEC filings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people are really ignorant of like what's going on with financial statements. So the big buy side shops, BlackRock and Buffett and so forth, they spend a lot of their time analyzing where management's trying to hide stuff and putting stuff on an equal footing. So AI is never going to be able. The ruling in the SEC is that they take disclosure. They think it's more important to give senior executives discretion on disclosure than it is to have uniformity. So you're never going to have comparability because the management team is always going to figure some new way to hide something, do something, make themselves look better. So this can help in summarizing some things and so forth. And the other thing is, if you talk to people actually in this business, the data that the SEC gets is often the electronic data, the XBRL data for the 10Ks, which are underneath the annual reports. Those things often need to be corrected, that they have the wrong data on the wrong fields. So I'm not at all surprised by this. It's people just don't understand what's in a filing.
So your thought is optional?
Yeah, my thought's optional because anybody in this business that doesn't know this is really pretty clueless.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I would just add another point for optional. This feels like yet another clickbait article. It doesn't quantify how far the probabilistic option output is, and I think there's a real emotional feel like you see in all these meetings. Hey, the new widget can't do X, and that gets meetings going and articles clicked on.
Bruce, your opinion? There's a couple of things that might highlight again deterministic versus probabilistic. This is a core of this, and in general, is it the right task for this type of model? So, yeah, I agree with optional for this particular article, but there are a couple of bits in here that are important. Bruce?
I agree with everyone.
Okay, optional then. All right, next.
Okay. The next one is from Google. So Google has launched Video Poet, a large language model for zero-shot video generation.
Adam, you played with a lot of video generation. What do you think?
I'm actually going to say this is optional. But I think it's back to the same conversation of, well, it would have been news if they weren't doing something like this. It's not doing anything that there aren't other models out there that are far ahead of it already. It's just indicative that they're moving in the same direction that everyone else is having to move as well. So it's not really much news, in my opinion.
Anybody else other than optional?
I say optional, and I say that third photo is creepy and give it to me.
It's very one of those very cool, interesting things. So instead of going to Twitter, maybe you look at this for a few seconds.
Okay. All right. Optional it is. Next.
Okay. This one is a new company called Etched, and they have launched AI first hardware, and it has shown some great improvements over NVIDIA A100 and H100.
So
Tim, any opinions?
before that, Michael's asking on the chat, is that a Google project on the last one? And the answer is yes. It's a Google research project that they just released today. So thanks for the question, Michael. On this one, I'm going to say this is important. It's going to take 30 seconds to read, but this is another example of just how fast things are changing. And this is on the hardware front. So, something that is a couple of orders faster than an H100, which is NVIDIA's top-end chip, with one core, is pretty interesting. So again, this particular company, who knows what's going to happen? It's a startup, but the idea that there are orders of magnitude improvement coming is important.
Other opinions, guys?
I was trying to find a way to validate their claim and see a little more about it, which I ran out of time to do. I don't know if I 100% believe it, but I still think it is a point to make that things are changing, and NVIDIA's strength of the market is really not going to last into the end of next year.
Yeah, but this was bound to happen. So this is the next step, right? So what they're doing, they're putting models in, they're etching, right? Oh, but that's why they're called this way, into the hardware architecture. So
Right.
this is quite, and this was bound to be the one of the avenues to explore. And with this type of results, this can give us an order of magnitude of jump. So from that perspective, I think our audience should know that. And that's why I would personally rate it as important, if not essential.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think the entire industry was surprised by how fast things happen, going all the way back to NVIDIA a decade or more ago, suddenly discovering that everybody was buying gaming chips to do machine learning. And they have somewhat altered their chip structure to be more accommodative to that. But it's not purpose designed for AI. It's a gaming architecture GPU. It's literally a graphics processing unit that happens to be pretty good at this as a sideline. And this is the first chip, at least that I've seen, that is purpose-built to train large language models and do AI.
Yeah, there would be more of that, right? So that's why it's... I
don't know if this company is going to be the winner, but I think...
Correct.
Absolutely, we're headed this direction.
I'd just like to add one more comment. I noticed, since that seems to be part of what's important here, is when you click through to their website where they're talking about their new chip, it says they have MOE and transformer variants, and that MOE is the mixture of experts, which is the stuff we just saw come out of Mistral like 2 weeks ago. So the fact that they're bringing chips to market that are already catering to technology that's just been announced 2 weeks ago shows you how adaptive these new industries are going to be. It's extraordinary.
Or at least how adaptive the marketing teams are.
Yes.
Yeah, because mixture of experts isn't necessarily brand new.
But it's only really transformers, so it's a little limited. But we'll have to see. Okay, so important. Any argument to that, or should we put it as essential?
It's important.
I say important just because lots of a lot of this is going to continue to be happening.
Yeah. Okay. Important it is. Next.
I think that's the last one. Oh, no, one more.
No, this is a cool one.
We have one more, Paul. Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is around PowerInfer. So this is a high-speed LLM inference engine, which can work on a single consumer-grade GPU.
So it's a little bit technical, Amanda.
Yeah, for our audience, I say this is optional, this research.
I'd agree.
Yeah,
Optional.
it's kind of a further on to the story of we're not going to need, the H100s much longer.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story when there was not enough memory and people were swapping stuff into the disks and bringing it back in the main memory. So there was the same trickery that, using both. But I think, optional for me too.
Great.
Agreed.
We're at 14 minutes. That the last one, Ankash?
Yes, Paul.
Great. So thank you, Aluda, and thank you, Michael, online for the comments. And please keep everyone giving the feedback who are online listening. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.